I've got some major organizing to do here, off-season stuff. As you can tell, it's gotten a bit disorganized throughout the course of the season. This deck system has been awesome though, no affiliation, but super easy to store all kinds of stuff. Started off relatively organized at the beginning of the season, but as you can tell, now there's just kind of stuff thrown everywhere. So this has been my fishing equipment side. So as you can tell, reels, I got random baits kind of laying everywhere through here. Just kind of stuff that I've used throughout the season. A bunch of epic stuff, a couple extra Bass Mafia pipe boxes, just a bunch of baits I've pulled out from the boat at different events throughout the season. And then this one's kind of just my tools and random things that I might need on the road. Jump box, toolbox. Got, I don't even know. I'm just gonna have to kind of organize through it and see what we're working with. And then all of these boxes here, 3 of these slap full of Guggen baits in the little Bass Mafia money bags. So got a little bit of work ahead of me here. Got a couple rods and reels that I've just thrown in the truck here for ponds and stuff. But it's the off season, but the regular season is quickly approaching. So lots of work to be done, organizing tackle, seeing what gear I need for next season. So gonna be working on that a little bit here over the course of the next few days. And then also gonna be starting to do a little bit of research and study into the lakes that I'm gonna be fishing next year, especially for the invitationals. So there's 6 of those. Let's see if I can remember them off the top of my head. We got Sam Rayburn, then we go to West Point Lake. Let's see, what's after West Point? Kentucky Lake. After Kentucky Lake, we have, what's after Kentucky Lake? Oh, Eufaula, Alabama. And then we head north from there, Champlain and the Detroit River. I'm gonna start a little bit of study on those. Let's see, I've been to Rayburn. That was the first ever pro tournament that I fished on the pro circuit in 2022. And then I've never been to West Point. Kentucky Lake I've been to, but I was in high school when I fished it, so it's been quite a while, and the fishing has kind of changed over there. And then we head to, what's the one? Oh, Eufaula. So I went there for a Toyota Series this year, kind of same time of year. That one really sucked. That was a really tough event. Champlain I've been to a number of times so far, so looking forward to that one. Do have a little bit of experience there. And then Detroit River, never been there, but that one looks like a lot of fun for smallmouth, and it'll be the last event of the year. So we're gonna get into a little bit of map study today. I'm gonna share with you guys a few tips and tricks that I do to kind of research the lakes before I get to them. A lot of the questions I get is like, how do you prepare for these tournaments, especially the lakes that you've never been to before? So I've partnered up with a company called Deep Dive. It's an app. If you guys haven't heard of it, I'll link the description below, but I was actually using it a bit last season, and it's really, really cool. There's a lot of information on there. I'll walk you guys through the app here in a second and kind of go through the different lakes and give you a little bit of insight and some tips, tricks that I use to research these lakes. But it's a really cool app, so I'll get into it here. All right, guys, so we're gonna walk through this Deep Dive app. I've got it pulled up here on my phone. I'll throw up a screen recording because that's gonna be the easiest way to kind of walk you guys through it. But we're gonna start off just looking at Harris, just because that's what I fish a lot and I know a lot about. So to kind of give you guys an idea of how this app works and the different features, we're just gonna go through Harris right here. And then I think I might go through maybe the first couple of invitational stops so you guys can kind of get an idea of my thought process behind researching these lakes, getting ready for these tournaments next season. We'll throw up the screenshot here. Let me start recording on my phone. All right, so we're looking at Lake Harris right now. This is for December 14th. And as you can see right here on the top, you're looking at top baits. So it's gonna be spinnerbait, bladed jig, chatterbait, and swim jig is what it's listing for the top 3 baits right now. That's just kind of like a general thing. You can go into that and adjust the conditions based on the lake. So we've got set lake conditions, so fall time, which is what we're in right now, just about to be into winter, I guess. And then we can put if there's any aquatic vegetation or no aquatic vegetation. So on Harris right now, there's a little bit of hydrilla, so we'll leave the aquatic vegetation marked here. Lake level, I think Harris is a little bit low right now, so mark that as low. And then we can look at wind blown versus wind protected areas. A lot of Harris does get pretty windy, so we'll just go ahead and mark wind blown. But if you're in a specific area on the lake that's protected, you can go through and hit protected. So a lot of different options there to kind of personalize the area that you're fishing. Next one is choose options. On Harris, obviously we've only got largemouth bass, but if we were on somewhere else, we would be looking at smallmouth or spotted bass potentially. And then we can choose whether we want to be fishing shallow or offshore. So that's pretty cool. If you're more of a shallow water guy, you can do shallow. If you're more of an offshore guy, you can do offshore, or you can kind of alternate between the two and see what the different tactics are. So let's just go shallow. I like fishing shallow. It's wintertime, the fish are probably starting to move up a little bit thinking about the spawn. So let's go with shallow on that one. Water clarity, the water's pretty stained on Harris. It's typically always stained, but especially right now. So we'll mark the stained option and see what it comes up with. So based on these conditions, it's suggesting topwater frog as the #1 option. So that's pretty consistent. I can definitely concur with that. The fish are really probably starting to move up into like canals and stuff. So the frog is a really good option, especially if you're getting into any type of duckweed on Harris. That's really what I like to focus on. So definitely a good call there on the frog. And then when we click on that, it's giving us an effectiveness rating of 7. And then it's giving us some areas. So see, I just said canals. It's showing backwater areas. Right here, it's giving us a little Google Earth view of some areas that we might want to look at. So it looks like little back cuts, little canal type areas. Cover, brim beds, 1 to 6 foot. The brim aren't really bedding right now, so probably aren't exactly looking for brim beds on that. Structure, canals, like I said, so it gives us some more examples here on Google Earth. And then if you're new to a certain technique, it's even got a little video here on the retrieve, and then some additional info on the rods, reels, line that you might want to use on that. Let's see what it suggests for the afternoon. So it's going to suggest something a little bit different for the afternoon. It's going to say bladed jig, chatterbait, swim jig, square bill, spinner bait, and then that frog still. So as the day goes on, it's giving us a little bit different suggestions, a couple more baits to add to your variety. Maybe if the topwater frog wasn't working for you or you wanted to switch it up to something else. Bladed jig is obviously a great option for Harris. Swim jig if there's any type of vegetation or kind of throwing that through the Kissimmee grass or up on cypress trees. Square bill crankbait up on cypress trees around docks. Spinner bait, same type of deal. Cypress trees, edge of Kissimmee grass lines around docks. And then that topwater frog, I mean, that's gonna work all day. And then it also gives us a sunset option, and it's gonna go back to the topwater frog. So that's what it's showing us for if you wanted to fish shallow on Harris right now. Those are kind of the suggestions that it makes. Let's just take a look at this offshore, see what that's looking like. We'll go back to morning. So bladed jig in a little bit deeper water if you're able to find some grass out in that 3 to 9 foot range. Medium diving crankbait, that's a really, really good option. Shell bars, brush piles, the crankbait always seems to get it done on Harris, especially if you've watched any of my videos. You guys have seen that I've caught a lot of fish on the crankbaits off of brush or shell. And right now there's a lot of bait. The bass are really feeding up before the spawn, so crankbaits are a good option. You got the deep diving jerkbait as well. With live scope coming into play, that's gonna be another great option. Afternoon, pretty much the same thing. I mean, once you're fishing offshore, it's kind of the same deal all day. It's just a thing that you run all day. And same thing for sunset. So there's the different baits that it suggests. So I really like that. I mean, it's really what I would throw a lot of times on Harris. So really accurate on there. We're gonna go over to the mapping portion of this. Here's the Harris chain right here. So you got all the different lakes. We'll just stick to Harris for this. So here's the different overlays that you can use. They're still working on a couple of the lakes. As you can see, there's the best areas, which they don't have for Harris right now. Water clarity estimate, they've got that. So it's got a little bit of a scale down here. So you can see they've got it just at the stained, like right at the beginning of the stained mark. So it's not dirty, it's not clear, but Harris definitely has a stain to it. And so we've got water inflow points. That's really cool. So we can go here, see right here, you can tell there's a couple of rivers right here. And so those will have water running into them, especially after rain. So it gives you a bunch of different little water inflow points on the lake. And then the winter time, that's not really a huge thing, like fall, winter. But as you get towards the summer and we get a lot of the rains in Florida, that's gonna be a pretty big help. Tournament patterns, looks like we don't have a tournament patterns on Harris for right now with the app. And then we've got wind effects, so that's really cool. It's gonna tell you the wind direction and what areas of the lake are getting hit by wind the most. So that's a really cool feature, especially on lakes that have a lot of points and you're looking for like wind-blown points. That can be really cool. So it'll show you the different areas that are gonna get hit by wind, and then you can adjust it based on the time of day as well. So that's a really cool feature right there as well. Let's see what else we got. So we've got the map. So we've got a couple different overlay options here as far as looking at the lake. All right, let's take a look at Sam Rayburn. That's going to be the first event of the season. So let's do a little preliminary research there. All right, let's see what they have for the mapping portion. Okay, so they've got a lot here on Sam Rayburn. Rayburn's a big tournament lake in Texas, so looks like they've got a lot of information pulled up. So let's do best areas. So Rayburn's a huge lake. It is really big. So this can cut down a lot on the learning curve. A lot of times when I'm researching lakes, really what it comes down to is trying to figure out the best areas and then sticking to those areas and really breaking it down. Some of these lakes, I mean, there's so much water to cover, you just can't do it in 2 to 3 days of practice. So you kind of have to pick a good area, an area that you think is productive, an area that tournaments have been won in the past, and kind of just break them down. So you can look at these different creeks here on Rayburn. So it's highlighting the best areas. So this is for right now, December 14th. The tournament on Rayburn is in February. So as it gets closer, I can kind of look through this and see what areas it is suggesting. Or we can actually, let's see. So we can do a wintertime pattern. Let's see what it says. So we're in fall right now, but let's go to winter because it's probably going to be more of a winter, maybe pre-spawn pattern. So let's do winter, 32 to 59 degrees. That's probably going to be pretty consistent to what it's going to be. There's probably not too much aquatic vegetation. Don't know what the water level is going to be, so we'll do normal on that. And let's see what it's suggesting. Okay, so it's saying right here, lower end and first half of the creek. And then so it's got some highlighted areas to try out. So this is telling me that the bass are going to be moving into the fronts of the creeks because they're kind of looking for bait, kind of looking for the areas that they're going to eventually push back into spawn. So that's pretty cool. And it's going to give us some techniques. So it's showing shaky head shallow on a channel swing bank and then on some rock. So let's see what other info it gives us here. So it's saying green pumpkin is going to be the best color. And check this out, it gives us some examples of rock transition, some things to look at if we were going to go look on Google Earth to do a little bit more research on where we wanted to fish. Channel swing banks, it's giving us an example of what these channel swings might look like on the map. The water clarity stained, and then again it's going to show us kind of the retrieve on that and some gear if you are new to that technique. So that's really cool. So that kind of gives me an idea of what I should be looking at if I go onto Google Earth, if I do some research on my Lake Master chips. So it's a really good starting point, especially on these lakes that I haven't been to or I don't have a whole lot of knowledge on. So that's really cool. Let's see. The next thing that it was suggesting was a jerkbait. Obviously the jerkbait has become a huge player with live scope out. It's just a really good way to target fish. So it's kind of that same thing. It's wanting us to check out these channel swing banks and maybe just live scope around probably with that jerkbait and see what's out there. Let's see what it's suggesting for offshore We'll keep it, yeah, we'll keep it stained, winter, normal lake level. Okay, so we're gonna keep everything about the same, but we'll just do offshore, see what it says for that. Umbrella rig again, can't use that. A swing head, football jig, Carolina rig, crankbait, jig and spoon, drop shot, jerk bait, and finesse swim bait. So those are all gonna be really good options whenever I was in Rayburn, or on Rayburn, back in, it was either late January or early February of 2022. I ended up catching most of my fish, if not all of them, on a drop shot in 12 to 30 foot. So there you go. And actually was using Green Pumpkin Pearl Guggen Baits drag and drop. So look at that, first half of the creek, bait fish. So look at this, it even gives us some examples of what to look for on the graphs. So we're looking at bait fish, we're looking at brush piles. That's what I caught all my fish on in that tournament, was brush piles, rock piles, and standing timber. And then the structure we're gonna be looking for, ditches, ridges, shoals, road beds, humps. So lots of great information on this app. I'm really excited about utilizing it a little bit more in my tournament season. And I did actually use it quite a bit this season, researching lakes. And the feature that I liked a lot about it was the baits and areas. So, I mean, I've got ideas of what I want to do when I come to these lakes, but sometimes you get out on the water and nothing's working. I'll be out there and I'm just thinking, okay, I haven't caught fish doing this and this. What are some other things that I might be able to do? So I'd pull up this app and look at the suggestions and maybe kind of give myself a couple more ideas of what the fish should be doing based on some of the research that these guys have put into the app. And then another feature that I really liked was the stained water map that they have. So you can look at different lakes and look where stained and dirty water is, or clear water, different areas of the lake. So I personally like fishing a little bit more stained, dirty water, especially when I want to fish shallow. So that's a lot of times that's what I would look for on different lakes that I was going to across the country. So they use satellite data to collect that to give you guys an idea of where the stained, clear, and dirty water might be on different lakes. So that cuts down a lot of timing too. Instead of running around the lake to see where that stained water might be or where that clear water might be, I can just pull up the app real quick on my phone and know where it's at, because it collects the data on a day-to-day basis. So it's gonna be accurate, and I can just drop a waypoint on my Humminbird unit where it's showing me, let's say I'm looking for stained water to go throw a spinnerbait around in the pre-spawn. I can drop a waypoint based on where it's showing me on the app and just run straight to it and know that I'm about to go fish some stained water. So really cool stuff coming out on the Deep Dive app, really cool stuff on the Deep Dive app. So I'll link it down below in the description. It's been really helpful to me, and I think it might help you guys out on the water as well. So definitely check it out. I'm gonna be using it throughout the season, and I'll let you guys know if it helps me cash a few more checks throughout the course of the season. If anything, it's definitely gonna give me a lot more knowledge and a lot more ideas out on the water. Thanks guys for watching this video. It's the off season, but we've got a lot of things in the works. Also, these Greico hats, I've had some questions on these. I'm gonna do an apparel drop, a hat drop here pretty soon, so I'll let you guys know. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and we'll put out some fishing videos here soon. I know the last two videos have kind of just been me talking, so we'll be getting out on the water here really soon, and the new boat is almost here. Thanks guys.